Commander Jae-ho Kim stared at the screen in his small office aboard the UES Defiance. The message had arrived just minutes ago, but he had already read it 5 times. Each time the words felt heavier in his chest. The transmission came from something called the Galactic Hegemony. 12 alien species working together, they said, all of them much older and stronger than humans. The message was simple and cold. Humans had 72 hours to leave all their worlds and surrender completely. If they refused, every human in space would die. Jae-ho rubbed his tired eyes. He had been awake for 18 hours straight, but sleep felt impossible now. The Defiance was humanity's newest warship, floating in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter. Around him, 800 crew members went about their daily tasks. Most of them did not know about the message yet. He pressed a button on his desk. "Captain Park to the bridge immediately," he said into his communicator. Captain So-Young Park arrived within minutes. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back tight. At 45, she was one of the youngest ship captains in Earth's fleet. She had earned her position through 15 years of hard fighting against pirates and rebels in the outer colonies. "Show me," she said without greeting. Jae-ho played the message again. The alien voice spoke perfect English, but it sounded wrong somehow. Too smooth, too confident. The creature on the screen looked like a giant insect with too many arms and glowing red eyes. "We are the hegemony," the alien said. "For 3,000 years we have brought order to this galaxy. We have watched your species spread from world to world like a disease. You fight each other constantly. You destroy your own planets. You are chaos." The alien paused as if waiting for humans to be ashamed. "But chaos ends now. You will abandon all colonies beyond your home system. You will submit to hegemony rule. You have 72 hours. If you refuse, we will remove you from existence." "This is not a threat. This is a promise," the message ended. Captain Park stood silent for a long moment. "How many ships do they have?" she finally asked. "Intelligence thinks about 1,000, Jae-ho replied. "Maybe more. And we have 43 combat ships total. Most are old patrol boats." Captain Park nodded slowly. The numbers were terrible, but her face showed no fear. "Call a meeting. Senior staff only, war room. 10 minutes. The war room was the heart of the Defiance. Maps of space covered the walls, showing human colonies scattered across dozens of star systems. Red lights marked enemy positions. There were too many red lights. Captain Park sat at the head of the long table. Around her gathered the ship's most important officers. Chief Engineer Dongwoo Lee was a big man with oil under his fingernails and worry lines around his eyes. Weapons Officer Heejin Choi looked young, but had fought in more battles than officers twice her age. Navigator Taemin Yoon was quiet and careful, the kind of person who always found a way through impossible problems. "You've all seen the message," Captain Park began. "I want honest answers." "Can we fight them?" Heejin spoke first. "Our weapons are good, but not that good. They probably have shields we can't break through. Energy weapons we can't match. If we line up ship to ship, we lose badly." Dongwoo nodded agreement. "Their ships are bigger and stronger, but..." He paused, thinking. "Our new quantum drive is still being tested. It might give us advantages they don't expect." "What kind of advantages?" Captain Park asked. "Speed. We can move faster than anything they've seen, and our jump calculations are different. We don't need the big navigation computers that most species use. A good human pilot can make jumps that their computers say are impossible." Navigator Taemin leaned forward. "That's our edge. They think we're stupid because we do things differently, but different isn't always wrong." Captain Park looked around the table. "What about our people? How will they fight when they know the odds?" Gunwoo Kang, the ship's morale officer, smiled for the first time since the meeting began. "Captain, humans have been fighting impossible odds since we lived in caves. It's what we do best. When someone tells us we can't win, we get angry, and angry humans are dangerous." The room fell quiet. Everyone knew he was right. Human history was full of small forces beating much larger ones through courage and stubbornness. "There's something else," Jae-ho said. "I've been studying their message. Look at how they talk. They keep saying we're chaos, we're unpredictable, we don't follow rules. They think that makes us weak. But it doesn't," Captain Park realized. "It makes us hard to fight." "Exactly. They've been conquering species for thousands of years, but every species they fought probably used the same basic tactics. Line up your ships, fire your weapons, follow the rules of war. We don't do that," Heejin grinned. "We cheat. We improvise," Dongwoo corrected. We adapt. We do whatever works, Captain Park stood up. Here's what we know. They have more ships, bigger guns, better technology, but they think they understand us and they don't. They expect us to either surrender or fight like everyone else they've conquered. She walked to the star map on the wall. How long to evacuate the colonies? Months, Taemin answered. Maybe a year if we want to save everyone. Then we buy them time. Captain Park turned back to her officers. 1 ship against 1,000. It sounds impossible. Good thing humans like impossible, Gunwoo said. 3 hours later, the message came from Admiral Sung Ho Nam at Earth Defense Command. It was short. Defiance will engage enemy forces. All other ships to protect evacuation routes. Make them remember why they should fear us. Captain Park read the message to the entire crew over the ship's communication system. 800 men and women listened from their posts throughout the ship. Some were scared. Some were excited. All of them were angry. They think we're just another species to conquer, Captain Park said. They think we'll run away or surrender when we see how big their fleet is. They're wrong. She paused, looking around the bridge. Young faces and old faces all watching her with trust. We're going to show them something they've never seen before. A human warship that refuses to quit. We might not win, but we're going to make victory cost them so much that they wish they had never heard of Earth. The ship's intercom crackled with cheers and shouts of agreement. In his engine room, Dongwoo Lee began pushing systems beyond their normal limits. In the weapons bay, He Jin Choi loaded every missile and charged every energy bank. Throughout the ship, 800 humans prepared for a fight they probably could not win. Outside, space looked peaceful. Stars shone like tiny diamonds against the black, but somewhere out there, 1,000 alien warships were moving toward human space. They expected easy victory against a primitive species that barely knew how to travel between planets. They were about to learn that humans had been surprising their enemies for as long as anyone could remember. And the crew of the Defiance was ready to give them the biggest surprise of their lives. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. 1 ship against 1,000. The odds were terrible. Humans had faced worse. The alien fleet arrived exactly when they said they would. 847 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through the darkness. Captain So-Young Park watched them on the main screen from the bridge of the Defiance. Each alien ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The largest one, floating in the center of the formation, was the size of a small city. Its hull was black and covered with weapons. That's their flagship, Chief Tactical Officer Subin Lim said, pointing at the massive ship. Intelligence calls it the Extinction. The warlord Kethavara commands from there. Cheerful name, Captain Park said dryly. What do we know about this warlord? He's conquered 43 different species, Jae-ho Kim replied. Never lost a battle. He likes to destroy enemy fleets completely, then broadcast the recordings to other worlds as a warning. Captain Park nodded. Well, he's never fought humans before. The Defiance hung in space behind Earth's moon, hidden from the alien sensors. The ship was much smaller than the enemy vessels, but it was built for speed and maneuverability. Every surface was covered with weapons, sensors, and the new experimental technologies that Earth's best scientists had developed. In the fighter bay, Lieutenant Woo Jin Park checked his small spacecraft one more time. 24 fighters were ready to launch. The pilots were young and eager, but they had trained for this moment their entire careers. Each fighter carried enough firepower to destroy a building, but against ships the size of mountains, they seemed tiny. Remember, Woo Jin told his pilots over the radio, we're not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to make them bleed, show them that humans bite back. On the bridge, navigator Taemin Yoon tracked the alien movements. They're not even trying to hide, he reported. Moving straight toward Earth, same formation they've probably used for centuries. That's their first mistake, Subin Lim said. She had spent years studying alien battle tactics from old recordings. They always do the same thing. Big ships in the center, smaller ships in a protective shell around them. They advance slowly and destroy everything in their path. And that works, Captain Park asked. Against everyone they've fought so far, other aliens think the same way they do. Follow the rules. Fight with honor. Line up and shoot until someone dies. Captain Park smiled. It was not a nice smile. Good thing we don't believe in fighting fair. The alien fleet sent a message as they approached Mars. Warlord Kethavara appeared on screen. He looked like a combination of lizard and insect with 4 arms and glowing yellow eyes. His voice was deep and confident. "Humans of Earth," he said, "your time is over. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Fight us and we will make them last for days." Captain Park opened a communication channel. "This is Captain So-Young Park of the UES Defiance. We have a message for you too." She gestured to Gunwoo Kang, who held up a sign with 2 words written in large letters. "Come and take it." The alien warlord stared at the screen for a moment, then made a sound like angry buzzing. The transmission ended. "I don't think he appreciated our message," Gunwoo said cheerfully. "He's about to appreciate it even less," Captain Park replied. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." Alarms sounded throughout the ship. 800 crew members ran to their positions. In the engine room, Dongwoo Lee pushed the quantum drive to maximum power. The ship hummed with energy like a giant musical instrument. The Defiance came around the moon fast, accelerating toward the alien fleet. On any normal day, 1 ship attacking 800 would be suicide. But this was not a normal day, and humans were not normal fighters. Launching fighters, Wu Jin reported. 24 small craft shot out of the Defiance like angry wasps. The aliens reacted exactly as Subin had predicted. Their formation tightened. The big ships moved to the center while smaller vessels spread out to protect them. It was a good defensive pattern that had worked for thousands of years. It had never been tested against human creativity. "Target their command ship," Captain Park ordered. "All weapons." The Defiance opened fire with everything it had. Energy beams lanced through space, followed by dozens of missiles. The alien flagship's shields absorbed most of the damage, but the attack was not meant to destroy the ship. It was meant to get attention, and it worked perfectly. "Entire enemy fleet is turning toward us," Taemin reported. "They're abandoning formation to chase us." "Just like Subin predicted," Captain Park said. "They can't resist crushing what they see as a weak target." The Defiance spun around and accelerated away from the alien fleet. It looked like the human ship was running in terror. The aliens followed exactly as planned. "Now," Captain Park said quietly. The human fighters had been waiting in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. As the alien fleet chased the Defiance, they flew into the perfect ambush position. 24 small ships against 800 large ones should have been hopeless, but the fighters did not attack the big alien ships. Instead, they targeted something much more vulnerable: the communication arrays and sensor equipment on the outside of the alien hulls. Wu Jin led his squadron in a diving attack that no alien commander had ever seen before. The human fighters flew between the alien ships, weaving through space like leaves in a storm. They fired at targets that seemed unimportant but were actually critical. Communication system damaged on their lead ship, the Defiance's sensors operator reported. 3 more ships losing sensor contact. The alien formation began to break apart. Without good communication, the ships could not coordinate their attacks. Some stopped to help damaged vessels. Others continued chasing the Defiance. The perfect formation became a scattered mess. "Phase 2, Captain Park ordered. The Defiance suddenly reversed direction, accelerating directly toward the largest group of alien ships. Chief Engineer Dongwoo had been saving power in the quantum drive for this moment. The ship moved faster than the aliens thought possible. "Ramming speed," Captain Park said calmly. Subin targeted the weakest-looking alien ship in the enemy formation. The Defiance's reinforced hull struck the alien vessel just behind its main engines. The impact destroyed both ships' engines and sent them spinning through space. But the Defiance was built to survive such attacks. Emergency systems activated automatically. Backup engines came online. Within minutes, the human ship was moving again. The alien ship was not so lucky. It drifted helplessly while its crew tried to repair the damage. 12 enemy ships destroyed, Subin reported with satisfaction. Estimated 30 more damaged. In the medical bay, Dr. Yoon Ji-han treated wounded crew members. The ramming attack had thrown people around like toys, but human ships were designed with such tactics in mind. Most of the injuries were minor. "How are we doing, Doctor?" Captain Park asked over the intercom. "Broken bones and bruises," Yoonji replied. "Nothing that will stop us from fighting." On the alien flagship, Warlord Kethavara stared at his tactical displays in confusion. In 30 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. The human ship had just rammed one of his vessels deliberately. It was insane. Why did they do that? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Humans do not follow standard combat protocols. They seem to use random tactics. Random tactics do not work, Kethvara said firmly. There must be a pattern. But there was no pattern the aliens could understand. Humans fought like humans, creative, stubborn, and willing to take terrible risks for small advantages. The battle continued for 6 hours. The Defiance struck from unexpected angles, used debris as cover, and attacked targets that seemed unimportant but turned out to be critical. The human fighters swarmed around alien ships like insects, too fast and small to hit reliably. By the end of the day, 12 alien ships had been destroyed and many others damaged. The Defiance was hurt but still fighting. More importantly, the alien fleet was no longer advancing toward Earth. Sir, the alien tactical officer reported to Warlord Kethvara, our formation is scattered. Many ships need repairs. The humans are still attacking. Kethvara's forearms clenched into fists. One ship. One tiny ship has done this. Yes, sir. Should we retreat and regroup? The warlord stared at the tactical display. In all his battles against 43 different species, he had never been forced to retreat by a single enemy vessel. No, he said finally. We will destroy them. But we do it carefully. No more chasing. No more assuming they are weak. These humans are dangerous. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Park reviewed the damage reports. The ship could keep fighting, but not for much longer. Still, they had accomplished something important. We hurt them, she said to her officers. A human ship made them bleed. Every alien in that fleet now knows we're not going to surrender quietly. What do we do next? Subin asked. Captain Park looked at the tactical display where hundreds of alien ships still waited in the darkness. We show them that this was just the beginning. 3 days after the first battle, the Defiance disappeared. One moment the human warship was on alien sensors, limping away from the fight with visible damage to its hull. The next moment it was gone completely. Not destroyed, just vanished like it had never existed. Warlord Kethvara stood in his command center aboard the Extinction, staring at displays that showed empty space where the enemy ship should be. His tactical officers searched frantically with every sensor they had. Where did it go? He demanded. Unknown, sir, replied his chief sensor operator. It was there, then it wasn't. No explosion. No debris field. It just disappeared. Kethvara's yellow eyes glowed brighter with anger. Ships do not just disappear. Find it. But the Defiance had not really disappeared. It was hiding in the shadow of a large asteroid, running on minimal power. Captain So-Young Park had ordered complete silence throughout the ship. 800 crew members moved like ghosts through the corridors, speaking in whispers. In the engine room, Dongwu Li had shut down everything except life support and basic navigation. The quantum drive was completely cold, giving off no energy signature that alien sensors could detect. It was like the ship was holding its breath. How long can we stay hidden? Navigator Taemin Yoon asked quietly. As long as we need to, Dongwu replied. But we can't fight like this. We need power for weapons and shields. Captain Park nodded. We're not hiding to avoid a fight. We're hiding to choose when and where to fight. The plan was simple but dangerous. Instead of facing the alien fleet in open battle, the Defiance would become a hunter. It would strike without warning, destroy what it could, and vanish again before the aliens could respond. Communications officer Yejin Oh monitored alien radio transmissions from her station. The enemy fleet was getting frustrated. They had split into smaller groups to search for the missing human ship, which was exactly what Captain Park wanted. 6 enemy ships heading toward the Mars orbital stations, Yejin reported. They're moving in standard formation about 2 hours away from our position. Perfect, Captain Park said. Separate targets. Time to teach them about guerrilla warfare. The Defiance waited until the alien patrol was almost past their hiding spot. Then Dongwu brought the engines online with a surge of power that sent the ship leaping out of concealment, like a predator attacking prey. The aliens never saw them coming. Chief Tactical Officer Subin Lim had calculated the attack perfectly. The human ship appeared directly behind the alien formation and opened fire with every weapon it had. 2 enemy ships exploded before they could even turn around. A third lost its main engines and began spinning helplessly. The remaining 3 ships tried to fight back, but the Defiance was already moving, using its superior speed to stay out of their weapons range. Hit and run, Captain Park said with satisfaction. The oldest tactic in human warfare. The battle lasted only 10 minutes. When it was over, 5 alien ships were destroyed and 1 was heavily damaged. The Defiance had a few new scratches on its hull but was otherwise undamaged. More importantly, the attack had been recorded by alien sensors throughout the system. Every enemy commander now knew that the human ship was still out there, still fighting, still dangerous, broadcasting on all alien frequencies, Ye-Jin reported. They're trying to coordinate a response. Intelligence officer Min Ho Kwan listened to the alien communications and translated them for the crew. They're scared, he reported. Not just worried, actually frightened. They keep talking about how we appear from nowhere and fight without honor. Good, Gunwoo Kang said. Scared enemies make mistakes. The psychological warfare was working better than anyone had hoped. The alien fleet had conquered dozens of species, but they had always fought straightforward battles. Line up your ships, fire your weapons, accept victory or defeat with dignity. They had never faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules. Over the next week, the Defiance struck 4 more times. Each attack was different. Sometimes they emerged from behind planets. Sometimes they hid in asteroid fields. Once they actually attached themselves to the hull of a cargo ship and rode it close to an enemy patrol before attacking. The aliens tried to adapt. They changed their patrol routes, improved their sensors, and kept their ships closer together for mutual protection. But human creativity seemed unlimited. Engineer Dongwoo Lee had discovered something interesting about the alien ships. They all used the same type of energy shielding. It was very strong but had one weakness. If you hit it with exactly the right frequency of energy, it would overload and fail for a few seconds. It's like a musical. Note, he explained to Captain Park. Hit the right note and their shields sing themselves to death. Subin Lim modified the ship's weapons to exploit this weakness. Now every attack was even more devastating. The Defiance could punch through alien shields as if they were made of paper. The alien fleet's morale began to crumble. Crews that had conquered entire star systems were now jumping at shadows. Every asteroid could hide the human ship. Every energy reading could be the start of another attack. Warlord Kethvara called a meeting of his senior commanders. The holographic images of 12 different alien species appeared around his conference table, all of them looking worried. This cannot continue, announced Commander Zix of the Hegemony's Third Fleet. His species looked like walking trees with too many branches. One human ship is paralyzing our entire operation. They are not fighting properly, complained Admiral Vess, whose race resembled giant spiders. They hide and sneak and attack from behind. It is cowardly. It is effective, Kethvara said grimly. Cowardly or not, they are winning. The other commanders buzzed with nervous energy. In all their years of conquest, none of them had faced anything like this. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested Fleet Marshal Kor. His people were the most peaceful of the Hegemony members, and they had always preferred diplomacy to warfare. Offer the humans terms that no, Kethvara roared. We do not negotiate with primitives. We are the Hegemony. We have conquered this galaxy for 3,000 years. But even as he spoke, Kethvara knew something had changed. The humans had done more than just fight back. They had shown other conquered species that the Hegemony could be hurt. Intelligence reports were coming in from across the galaxy about rebellions starting on worlds that had been peaceful for decades. Meanwhile, the Defiance continued its deadly game of hide and seek. The ship had become a ghost story that alien crews told in whispers. Some claimed it could phase through solid matter. Others said it could read their minds and always knew where they would be. The truth was simpler but more frightening. Humans were just very good at war. Captain Park studied the tactical situation from her ready room. The alien fleet had lost 60 ships in 2 weeks of fighting. Not a huge number compared to their total strength, but enough to make them cautious. More importantly, they were no longer advancing toward Earth. We've bought time for the evacuation, she said to Jae-ho Kim. Civilian transports are moving people off the frontier colonies. How much more time do we need? Jae-ho asked. Months. Maybe longer if we want to save everyone. Jae-ho nodded. Then we keep fighting. But Captain, we can't keep this up forever. Every attack damages us a little more. Eventually they'll get lucky. Captain Park looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of humans were fleeing their homes because of the alien ultimatum. Children who had never seen Earth were leaving the only worlds they had ever known. Then we make sure that when they do get lucky, it costs them everything, she said quietly. The hunt would continue. One ship against hundreds, one crew against an empire. The odds were still terrible. But the aliens were learning that sometimes the hunter becomes the hunted. The trap was perfect. Admiral Vess had spent 3 weeks studying every human attack, looking for patterns. The spider-like alien commander was known throughout the hegemony for her tactical brilliance. She had conquered 7 species without losing a single battle. Now she watched from her command ship as 300 alien vessels surrounded the gas giant Jupiter. They had used fake communications and false sensor readings to make it look like a small, vulnerable convoy was passing through the area. It was bait that the human ship could not resist. There, her sensor operator reported. Energy signature detected near the 4th moon. Admiral Vess felt satisfaction flow through her 8 legs. The humans cannot help themselves. They see what appears to be an easy target and attack without thinking. Today we end their reign of terror. But on the bridge of the Defiance, Captain So-Young Park was not thinking about easy targets. She was thinking about survival. Her ship hung in space near Jupiter's moon Io, surrounded by enemies on all sides. There was nowhere to run. 312 ships, Chief Tactical Officer Subin Lim reported. All weapons pointed at us. We're completely surrounded. Engine power at 60%, Engineer Dongwoo Lee added. Hull damage from our last fight is getting worse. We can't take much more punishment. Captain Park looked around her bridge. The faces of her crew showed fear but also determination. For 3 weeks, these 800 men and women had fought impossible odds and won. They had become legends throughout human space. But legends could still die. Options? She asked. Navigator Taemin Yoon checked his instruments. We could try to break through their line. The quantum drive still has enough power for one major acceleration. We'd never make it, Subin said. Too many ships. They'd destroy us before we got halfway to clear space. What about surrender? Communications Officer Ye Jin-Oh asked quietly. Maybe we could negotiate. No. Captain Park's voice was firm. We don't surrender. That's not who we are. Intelligence Officer Min-Ho Kwan looked up from his station. Captain, I'm intercepting their communications. Admiral Vess is planning to broadcast our destruction throughout the galaxy. Show other species what happens when they resist the hegemony. Gunwoo Kang, the ship's morale officer, laughed. It was not a happy sound. She wants to make an example of us. Good. Let's make sure it's the right kind of example. Engineer Dongwoo Lee had been quiet during the discussion, but now he stood up with a strange expression on his face. Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy. It'll probably kill us all, but it might work. I'm listening. The quantum drive. We've been using it for normal space travel, but it was designed for experiments. Dangerous experiments. If we overload it completely, he paused. Well, we could create a controlled black hole. Suck in every ship within 1,000,000 kilometers. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. The Defiance would die, but it would take most of the alien fleet with it. How controlled is controlled? Captain Park asked. Not very, Dongwoo admitted. I've never tried anything like this. Nobody has, but the theoretical mathematics work, probably. Probably? Maybe 60% chance of success. 40% chance we just explode and accomplish nothing. Captain Park looked at her officers. Subin was calculating firing solutions even though they were hopeless. Taemin was plotting escape routes that did not exist. Yejin was monitoring enemy communications, looking for any advantage. Minho was studying alien tactics, still trying to find a weakness. They were going to die. All of them knew it. But they were still fighting, still thinking, still refusing to give up. All hands, Captain Park announced over the ship's intercom. This is the captain. We are surrounded by enemy forces. Our situation is hopeless. Standard military doctrine says we should surrender to save lives. She paused, letting that sink in. But we are not standard military. We are human. And humans do not surrender when our families are threatened. Chief Engineer Lee has a plan. It will probably kill us all. But it will take our enemies with us. I'm putting it to a vote. All in favor? 800 voices responded over the intercom. The vote was unanimous. Then let's show these aliens what humans do when we're cornered, Captain Park said. In the alien fleet, Admiral Vess was growing impatient. The human ship had been sitting motionless for 10 minutes. Why aren't they moving? She asked her tactical officer. Unknown, Admiral. Perhaps they are preparing to surrender? Or perhaps they are planning something, Vess said suspiciously. Begin the attack. Destroy them quickly. 300 alien ships opened fire at once. The space around Jupiter lit up like a small sun as thousands of energy beams converged on the Defiance. The human ship's shields flared and failed within seconds. Hull plating began to melt under the intense bombardment, but the Defiance did not try to escape. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the largest cluster of enemy vessels. In the engine room, Dongwu Li was pushing the quantum drive far beyond its safety limits. Energy readings climbed into the red zone, then past anything the instruments could measure. 20 seconds, he reported over the intercom. On the bridge, Captain Park opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. Admiral Vess appeared on screen, her 8 eyes glowing with triumph. "Surrender now and we will make your death quick," the alien commander said. "I have a better idea," Captain Park replied. "You surrender to us." Admiral Vess made a sound like angry static. "You are surrounded." "Your ship is dying. You have no weapons that can hurt us." "You're right," Captain Park agreed. "We can't hurt you with weapons, but we can hurt you with physics." 10 seconds, Dongwu announced. The quantum drive began to make a sound like screaming metal. Reality started to bend around the Defiance as space-time itself began to twist. The alien sensors detected impossible energy readings coming from the human ship. "What are they doing?" Admiral Vess demanded. 5 seconds, Dongwu said. "Captain, it's been an honor." "The honor was mine," Captain Park replied. "But something went wrong. Or perhaps something went right, depending on your point of view. Instead of creating a black hole, the overloading quantum drive tore a hole in space itself. A swirling portal of blue energy opened directly in front of the Defiance." Navigator Taiman Yoon stared at his instruments in amazement. "Captain, that's a wormhole. It leads—" "I'm not sure where it leads, but it's stable." For one perfect moment, Captain Park understood what had happened. The quantum drive had not failed. It had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. The portal led somewhere the aliens would never expect. "All power to engines," she ordered. "Take us through." The Defiance shot toward the wormhole like an arrow. Behind them, dozens of alien ships were caught in the gravitational distortions and pulled off course. Several collided with each other as their formations collapsed. Admiral Vess watched in horror as the human ship disappeared into the swirling portal. "Follow them!" she screamed. But the wormhole collapsed just as the first alien ships reached it. The portal snapped shut with a flash of light that temporarily blinded every sensor in the area. When their vision cleared, the Defiance was gone. Not destroyed, not hidden. Gone to somewhere else entirely. Where did they go? Admiral Vess demanded. Her chief scientist, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, examined the sensor readings. The energy signature suggests interdimensional travel. But that's impossible. No species has ever developed that technology. Humans just did, Admiral Vess said quietly. In the depths of space, the wormhole had not actually closed. It had simply moved. Taiman Yoon had managed to stabilize it just long enough for the Defiance to reach the other side. When the human ship emerged, they found themselves in a star system they had never seen before. But Captain Park recognized the massive space stations and orbital platforms that surrounded the central planet. "Where are we?" Subin asked. Minho checked his intelligence databases and went pale. "Captain, this is the Hegemony home system, the center of their empire. We're in their backyard." Captain Park smiled. It was the most dangerous smile in the galaxy. "Perfect," she said. "Time to deliver a message." The Hegemony homeworld had not seen a warship in over 1,000 years. The planet Nexus Prime floated in space like a green jewel, surrounded by massive orbital stations and defense platforms. 12 billion aliens lived on the surface and in the space habitats that orbited overhead. For 3,000 years, this system had been the safe heart of the galaxy's greatest empire. Now a single human warship hung in space above their world, broadcasting a message that would change everything. Captain So-Young Park stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking at the alien homeworld through the main view screen. The ship was barely holding together. Hull plates were missing, weapon systems were damaged, and half the crew was wounded. But they were alive, and they were exactly where they needed to be. "Are you recording?" she asked Communications Officer Ye-Jin Oh. "Yes, Captain. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Every alien in this system is hearing you." Captain Park took a deep breath. This would be the most important speech of her life. Maybe the most important speech in human history. "People of the Hegemony," she began, her voice calm and clear. "I am Captain So-Young Park of the human warship Defiance. 3 weeks ago, your leaders told my people to surrender or die. They said we were weak. They said we were primitive. They said we would be easy to conquer. She paused, letting her words sink in across millions of alien receivers. They were wrong. Behind her, the bridge crew worked frantically to keep the ship operational. Engineer Dongwu Li had managed to restore basic power, but the quantum drive was completely destroyed. They were not going anywhere soon. Your warlord Kethavara brought nearly 1,000 ships to destroy humanity, Captain Park continued. This is what remains of one human crew. The ship's external cameras activated, showing the Defiance from every angle. The alien viewers could see the battle damage, the missing armor, the signs of desperate fighting, but they could also see that the ship was still intact, still dangerous, still defiant. We are 800 men and women who refused to surrender, Captain Park said. We fought your best commanders. We destroyed your strongest ships. We came here, to the heart of your empire, to deliver a message. In the intelligence center, Minho Quan monitored alien communications throughout the system. Captain, they're in panic. Military forces are mobilizing, but slowly. They can't believe we're really here. On the surface of Nexus Prime, crowds gathered around public screens to watch the human broadcast. Many had never seen a human before. These beings looked small and fragile compared to most hegemony species. How had they traveled so far? How had they penetrated the most heavily defended system in the galaxy? We did not come here to conquer you, Captain Park continued. We came to show you something. For 3,000 years, your empire has grown by destroying other species. You tell yourselves that you bring order to chaos. You believe that might makes right. She stepped closer to the camera and her eyes were hard as steel. But we are proof that you are wrong. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced. But we are something your empire has forgotten how to be. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited for her next words. We are free. The reaction across the hegemony system was immediate and electric. On 12 different worlds, conquered species watched the human captain speak words they had not heard in generations. Freedom is not something you can take away with threats, Captain Park said. It is not something you can destroy with warships. It lives in the heart of every thinking being. You buried it, but you could not kill it. And now it is awakening. Intelligence reports began flowing in from across the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler-7, worker riots had begun. The aquatic people of Oceanos were refusing to follow hegemony orders. Even some hegemony member species were questioning their leaders. This is what happens when you threaten our children, Captain Park said, her voice growing stronger. This is what happens when you try to make us slaves. We do not bend. We do not break. We do not surrender, and we never forget. The ship's sensors detected movement throughout the system. Hundreds of defense platforms were powering up their weapons. Military ships were launching from orbital bases. The hegemony was finally responding to the invasion of their homeworld, but it was too late to stop the message. To the conquered peoples of this galaxy, Captain Park said, remember what you once were. Remember what you can be again. The hegemony tells you that resistance is hopeless. We are proof that they lie. Chief Tactical Officer Subin Lim looked up from her station. Captain, we have incoming missiles. Estimate 40 minutes until impact. Captain Park nodded but did not stop speaking. To the leaders of the hegemony, understand this. Humanity will never submit. Attack our colonies and we will hunt you across the stars. Threaten our families and we will appear in your homes. Try to destroy us and we will show you that some things are worth dying for. The first alien ships had reached firing range, but their commanders were hesitating. The human vessel was broadcasting across the entire galaxy. Destroying it now would only prove the human captain's point about hegemony brutality. We are not your enemies, Captain Park said. We could have destroyed this world. We could have targeted your civilians. We could have become the monsters you claimed we were. Instead, we came here to talk, to show you a different way. Dr. Yoon Ji-han appeared on the bridge, her medical uniform stained with blood from treating the wounded. Captain, we have 200 survivors able to fight. The rest are too badly injured. Then we fight with 200, Captain Park said simply. But the fighting might not be necessary. Across the galaxy, the human broadcast was having effects no one had predicted. On 17 different worlds, hegemony governors were facing rebellions. 3 member species had withdrawn their support from the Empire. The rigid structure that had held the galaxy together for thousands of years was beginning to crack. This is our message, Captain Park concluded. We are humanity. We do not surrender. We do not give up. And we never forget. Learn from us or learn to fear us. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. The Defiance hung in space above the alien homeworld, surrounded by thousands of enemy ships but somehow untouchable. The crew had delivered their message to the galaxy. Now they waited to see what would happen next. They did not have to wait long. Warlord Kethavara's image appeared on their communication screen. The alien commander looked older and more tired than before. "Captain Park," he said formally, "you have impressed us. Your species fights with a courage we have not seen in many centuries. Is that an offer to negotiate?" Captain Park asked. "It is an offer to survive. Withdraw from our system and we will not pursue you. You have made your point." Captain Park considered this. Her ship was dying. Her crew was wounded. They had accomplished more than anyone thought possible, but they could not fight forever. "No," she said finally. Kethavara's eyes widened in surprise. "No, we're not leaving. Not until every human colony is free. Not until you withdraw from our space completely. Not until you learn to ask instead of demand." The alien warlord was quiet for a long moment. "You would die for this principle?" "We would. But we don't have to. Your empire is falling apart. Your own people are rebelling against you. The galaxy is watching. You can destroy us, but it will cost you everything else." 3 days later, the first hegemony ships arrived to rescue the Defiance. But they were not there to attack. They were there to escort the human vessel safely out of the system. The political earthquake had been swift and complete. 4 member species had left the hegemony entirely. Others demanded the right to govern themselves. The rigid empire that had lasted 3,000 years was dissolving into chaos. But it was a good kind of chaos. The chaos of freedom. Captain Park stood in the repaired bridge of her ship as they prepared to leave the alien homeworld. The Defiance had been rebuilt using hegemony technology as part of the peace agreement. It was stronger now, faster, more dangerous than ever. "Course for Earth, Captain," Navigator Taemin Yoon asked. "Course for home," Captain Park agreed. Behind them, the hegemony homeworld grew smaller in the distance. Ahead of them lay the long journey back to human space. But they were not alone. Ships from a dozen different species had joined them as escorts and allies. The galaxy was changing. The age of empires was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning, and it had all started with one ship, one crew, and one simple message: we do not surrender. The Defiance flew home through a galaxy that would never be the same. In the captain's quarters, So Young Park began writing her report. At the top of the first page, she wrote a single sentence: "Mission accomplished. Humanity is free. The war was over. Freedom had won."